Go. Okay, I want to apologize for what happened earlier. I faced some technical issues, so I have to start again from the beginning so that we won't get lost from where we at. All right, so let's let's start right now.
Family isn't blood, it's who showed up. For
Of
context, I'm
course.
31 years old. I was married for 5 years to Jessica, though that's over now. Her brother Derek has always been part of our lives.
See, he was married for 5 years, but that was over now, according to him. This to show you that mostly marriage is not beneficial to men. I don't know if this makes sense. Marriage is not really of any benefits to men if you are looking at it from a logical point of view. The most beneficiary of marriages are the women because the children get more drawn to the women. The children get all, I mean, the wife gets all the applaud and everything. Why the men are left to be the ATM. And don't let me talk about that today so that you won't believe that I am toxic minded or something. I want you to really see what happened in the story. Alright, this is our main point of concentration. And according to this narrator, he is married for 5 years until everything went southway. Let's continue with the story.
We're incredibly close, which I initially found endearing. He's one of those perpetual tech startup entrepreneurs, always chasing the next unicorn company, always one investor pitch away from striking it rich. Jessica worked in consulting and volunteered with HR departments on the side, which becomes important later. This nightmare began about 8 months ago. I'd been feeling progressively worse for nearly a week, starting with this dull, throbbing ache somewhere deep in my gut. At first, I dismissed it as stress. We had a massive quarterly strategy review coming up at work, and I was knee-deep in endless meetings and corporate presentations. I'm the type who powers through discomfort, headaches, exhaustion, whatever. That's what I'd learned climbing the corporate ladder. You show up, you smile through the pain, you deliver results. That's how you get ahead. But that particular morning, walking into our glass-walled conference room, I knew something was fundamentally, terrifyingly wrong. The ache had transformed into something sinister, something that made each step feel precarious. I paused at the doorway, gripping the cool metal frame, trying to
Wait. With all this illness going on, I am starting to think of something. Could it be that the wife was the one who was poisoning the sky? Could it be that? Could it be that the wife actually have everything?
of masculine conditioning had taught me to ignore pain, to mask it beneath practiced smiles and steady nods. I shuffled past the polished glass walls and settled into my usual seat, while my boss, Alan, launched into his typical speech about market synergy and quarterly targets. The room was peak corporate America: expensive furniture, motivational posters, people nodding enthusiastically at PowerPoint slides like they contained the secrets of the universe. I tried focusing on the numbers that had once been my comfort zone, but the words kept swimming across the screen, refusing to make sense. My hand trembled violently when I reached for my coffee cup. I had to set it down immediately before I spilled it everywhere. Cold sweat erupted across my forehead and hairline, trickling down the sides of my face and pooling uncomfortably at my collar. My breath came in short, labored gasps, like my lungs had suddenly forgotten their primary function. I grabbed the edge of the conference table with both hands, knuckles turning bone white, desperately trying to anchor myself to something solid, something real. But the pain refused to be ignored any longer. What started as a sharp twist suddenly spiraled into something that felt like a serrated blade carving methodically through my abdomen. My vision doubled, then tripled, the worried faces around me.
Before we go on with the story, let us applaud the narrator, the writer of this, the writer of the story. I like the way he uses his tenses, his comparison, everything. It actually made a lot of sense. All right, let's continue with the story.
Blurring into indistinct smudges. I heard Alan say my name, sharp, clipped, irritated, as if I'd deliberately chosen this moment to interrupt his precious presentation. I opened my mouth to respond, to apologize, to explain, but no words would come. Another wave of agony crashed over me, so sudden and violent that I couldn't contain the sound that escaped. Something between a gasp and a groan, a noise I'd never made before. I tried desperately to swallow it down, to maintain some shred of professional dignity, but it was far too late for that. My body betrayed me completely. I slumped forward and my head connected with the polished table with a dull thud that seemed to echo through the entire room. I don't remember the actual fall to the floor, and don't remember the startled cries or the frantic scramble of footsteps as people rushed to help. The next thing I consciously registered was lying on my back, staring up at the conference room's harsh fluorescent lights, each one feeling like a blade of white fire stabbing directly into my eyes. Paramedics in crisp blue uniforms materialized around me seemingly out of nowhere, their voices a controlled blur of medical urgency and practiced protocol. One of them, a woman with remarkably kind eyes, gently placed an oxygen mask over my mouth and nose, speaking in soothing tones, telling me to breathe slowly and deeply. I tried to follow her instructions, but each breath felt like it was literally tearing something vital inside me apart, piece by
When are we going to get to the real deal? Okay, this is getting too long. I need to know if it was the wife who is causing all of this. I need to know if it was the wife who have done all of this to you, so that we can discuss about this, talk about this, and let's
piece.
go on.
My heart pounded frantically against my ribcage like a trapped bird desperately trying to escape. Through the overwhelming haze of pain and fear, I fumbled for my phone with clumsy, half-numb fingers. I needed to call Jessica. She was my wife, my partner, the person who'd
It's like we are getting there slowly. He needs to call Jessica after all of what he has been going through, after all of what has been happening to him. He needs to call Jessica. Now I am loving this. Let's see what happens after he calls Jessica. I want to believe Jessica will be going to him. Oh, my husband, something has done. All those kind of pretense. Although we are not sure yet, or let me say, I am not sure yet. I don't know if it is Jessica who have done all of this to him, but I strongly believe it is her. Because, alright, let's continue with the story.
vowed to be there in sickness and in health. She'd know what to do. She'd drop everything and come to me. I managed to unlock my phone screen despite my trembling hands and pressed her contact name, listening as it rang once, twice, 3 times. She answered on the third ring, her voice sharp and distracted, clearly annoyed by the interruption. Can this wait? Derek's got his huge investor presentation today. It's absolutely critical. Derek, her brother, always her brother. I tried desperately to tell her what was happening, that I was in an ambulance, that I was terrified and needed her, but the words got hopelessly tangled with the oxygen mask and the cacophony of beeping medical equipment surrounding me. Jessica, I managed to croak out, my voice barely audible, but she'd already disconnected, just hung up, ended the call without waiting for me to explain, without a second thought. I stared at my phone screen as her name faded away, feeling more utterly alone than I'd ever felt in my entire life. The paramedics moved with impressive speed and efficiency, lifting me onto a stretcher with practiced movements. The conference room, with its glass walls and corporate optimism, rapidly became a distant memory as they wheeled me through hallways that blurred into abstract streaks of white and gray. The pains spiked again. White
Is going to the surgery. But then the one person that could have been there for him, the one person that they have sworn to be together forever, the one person that they have taken the oath at the front of the altar, at the witness of several people, the person who could have been there for him was rather be with a brother Derek.
hot and absolutely merciless, and I had to clench my teeth so hard I thought they might crack just to keep from screaming out loud. Through the fog of agony, I heard someone, I think it was Alan, commenting about continuing the meeting, about getting back to the agenda, about not letting this disruption derail their schedule. Even as I was being carried out on a stretcher, potentially dying, they couldn't pause their precious meeting for even a moment. That realization hurt almost as much as the physical pain. The
This
ambulance.
emotional pain and this life is the worst. See, when you have a physical pain, the pain will come and it will go. Look at my hand. I got something they call whitlow here around this part of the world. We call something like this whitlow. Yeah, it happens. The pain will be too much for you to bear, but at some time, your hand will heal, right? But when you have the pain of the heart, it goes down into the mind. It does not leave you 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. The pain has stayed there, and this is what is happening to this guy right now. The one person that could have been with him gave that excuse. She didn't even hear what he wanted to say. She just interrupted, shut him off. Oof. Let's continue with the story.
Felt like a fever dream, surreal and disconnected from reality. Sirens wailed overhead, emergency lights flashed rhythmically, but inside the confined space it felt impossibly claustrophobic and terrifying. The air was thick with the sharp smell of antiseptic and the metallic taste of fear. One of the paramedics, a young guy with a kind face and scattered freckles, leaned over me with a remarkably steady voice given the circumstances. "We're taking you to Memorial Hospital," he said calmly. "You're going to be okay. Just hang on for us, all right?" I nodded weakly, or at least I attempted to. Every movement felt strangely disconnected, like I was trying to operate a body from somewhere far away, like a puppeteer with tangled strings. I kept replaying Jessica's voice in my head, that sharp, dismissive tone, the way she told me it would have to wait.
See, you will keep on remembering it forever. The memory will be as fresh in your mind, even if the occurrence have happened since 10 years ago. It will be fresh in your mind that you will think it happened yesterday. The pain will be new every day that you remember it, unless at some point you decide to move on deliberately. Even when you move on, the pain will still be there. Let's go on with the story.
Given her absolutely everything. My time, my love, my unwavering trust, my whole heart. And when it truly mattered most, when I actually needed her desperately, she simply wasn't there. The hospital's emergency entrance doors burst open dramatically, and suddenly I was surrounded by even more medical professionals. Nurses, doctors, specialists, all of them moving with urgent purpose in controlled chaos.
I said it earlier on. I strongly believe that the wife has something to do with his medical condition. I swear it. Let's keep on saying the story. Let's keep on saying the story.
They fired rapid questions at me while simultaneously inserting multiple IV lines into my arms, hooking me up to various monitors that beeped with increasing urgency and concern. My entire world narrowed down to stark white walls and those incessant beeping machines that seemed to be counting down to something terrible. A nurse with warm, compassionate brown eyes squeezed my hand firmly. Her grip felt steady and grounding, like an anchor in a storm. "You're going into emergency surgery right now," she said with gentle authority. "We're going to take excellent care of you, I promise. Just hold on for us, okay?" I desperately wanted to ask if Jessica had called the hospital, if she'd tried to reach me, if she was on her way. I wanted so badly to believe she'd come bursting through those doors any second, panicked and apologetic and worried sick about me. But somewhere deep in my gut, beneath all the physical pain, I already knew the truth. I closed my eyes and surrendered to the darkness pulling me under, utterly alone on that surgical stretcher.
I understand what this guy is going through. See, at some point, you would wish, you would wish that it is not you it is happening to. But then you just wouldn't care anymore at some point. But before you start not to care anymore, your heart would suffer it. You see, this guy, he wanted to ask the hospital if Jessica at some point called the hospital, but then he shunned the thought away at because of a man. He's a man. A man will always bottle their feelings in. As a man, we deserve to be happy too. We deserve to be loved. We deserve the benefits of good marriages too. Let's continue with the story.
Genuinely unsure if I'd ever wake up again. I did survive the surgery, though the doctors told me later it was a close call. The surgeon's detailed explanation echoed repeatedly in my foggy mind for days afterward. Acute appendicitis severely complicated by peritonitis. He used his hands to draw precise diagrams in the air as though it were a simple mathematical equation. But there had been absolutely nothing simple about the excruciating agony or the overwhelming terror I'd experienced. They'd rushed me directly into emergency surgery, a blur of surgical.
Let's get one thing right. What happened to this guy medically was that the appendix had an issue. Before an appendix could have an issue, it means that you have been eating something. It means that you have been eating something that does not go well with your body, right? For instance, you are eating stone like you are an hen or a fowl. You are eating it, the stone will store up into your appendix, and there are some time whereby, and at the time whereby the appendix is full, you will need to go for surgery. Now, when you go for surgery, appendix will be cut off, right? Now, what has this guy been eating that leads to severe medical condition? This appendix issue. What has he been eating that leads to it? Think about it. I said it before that the wife has something to do with with this medical condition. I said it before, and I'm saying it again. We'll get there together. We'll get there and we'll sit together. Let's continue with the story.
Instruments and blindingly bright lights and the overwhelming smell of antiseptic, faces hidden completely behind surgical masks and caps. When I finally regained consciousness several days later, I found myself in a stark white hospital room with medical machines humming steadily beside my bed. Every single breath required conscious effort, my body feeling like it had been completely dismantled and then carelessly reassembled by someone who'd lost the instruction manual. The weakness was absolutely overwhelming, crushing. Nurse Camille was the very first real face I saw clearly when I woke up. She had remarkably soft brown eyes and a voice that felt genuinely comforting, almost maternal in its warmth. She explained that I'd been extremely lucky, that the immediate surgical intervention had quite literally saved my life. I attempted to nod in acknowledgement, but my head felt impossibly heavy, like it was filled with wet concrete. My mind remained foggy and disoriented from the lingering effects of anesthesia and the profound shock my body had endured. She methodically checked all my vital signs in the various monitors surrounding me, then mentioned almost as an afterthought, her tone carefully neutral. "We don't have any record of family contact information on file. Is someone planning to come visit you?" That simple question hit me like a devastating physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. My wife, the one person who absolutely should have been sitting at my bedside, the person who'd promised to be there through everything. My throat was too parched and raw to answer properly. I simply closed my eyes tightly and let her question hang heavy in the sterile hospital air.
There is no further question to be asked. There is no further concern to be felt. Your wife is behind your troubles. Your wife is planning to end your life. Can't you see that?
Answered. 3 agonizingly long days crawled by in an uncomfortable haze of medication drips, hourly nursing checks, and that persistent antiseptic smell that seemed to cling to absolutely everything. My skin, my hospital gown, even my hair. Every single time that door opened, my heart would involuntarily lift with desperate hope. Maybe this time it would be Jessica. Maybe she'd finally come with flowers and tearful apologies. Maybe she'd been frantically worried and just couldn't get away from work until now. But it was always, without exception, just nurses.
There's something common to people who are deeply in love. You will know that your partner is doing something that you are deeply worried about, that you are deeply concerned about, that you are deeply doubting his or her attributes. But whenever you are supposed to take some rigid actions, you will start making excuses for them. This is the case of this guy. Let's continue.
With professional smiles and practiced sympathy, doctors with clipped questions and busy schedules, or occasional housekeeping staff going about their routine duties. No Jessica, no phone calls forwarded to my room, no text messages, no voicemails, nothing at all. The nurses, bless them, tried their best to hide their obvious pity when they gently asked about my family situation. I gave them the exact same answer every single time, trying desperately to sound casual and unconcerned. Oh, she's just really busy with work right now.
Excuses.
But each time I repeated that hollow
Excuses
excuse,
upon
I felt myself
excuses.
shrinking a little bit more, becoming smaller and more invisible. On the fourth morning, I woke abruptly to the sound of familiar voices drifting through my closed door. Jessica's distinctively sharp tone cutting easily through the hospital's usual quiet hum, and Derek's easy, confident laugh. That particular sound that had always made my skin crawl slightly, though I'd never admitted that to anyone, not even myself. I strained hard to hear their conversation through the door, catching fragments between the shuffle of passing nurses. The presentation went absolutely incredibly well, Derek was saying enthusiastically, his voice practically dripping with smug self-satisfaction. They completely loved the entire concept. We're looking at full funding, probably significantly more than we initially projected. I'm so relieved, Jessica replied, and I could practically visualize her satisfied smile. It's about damn time things started going our way. This is seriously going to change everything for us. They finally walked into my hospital room like they owned the entire building. Like I was simply another routine appointment squeezed into their undoubtedly busy schedule. Jessica's hair was absolutely perfectly styled, her makeup flawlessly applied. She looked like someone who'd meticulously planned this visit down to the exact minute. Derek wore an obviously expensive tailored suit, looking like he'd literally just stepped off a corporate stage somewhere. His practiced, camera-ready grin made my stomach churn with unexpected nausea. Jessica's eyes swept quickly over me, clinical and detached, like she was checking items off a list. "How are you feeling?" she asked. But her tone and body language made it abundantly clear it was just something polite people say, not a genuine question requiring a real answer. Before I could even attempt to formulate a response, she'd already turned back toward Derek, laughing at some inside joke I obviously wasn't part of, had never been part of. I felt like I was watching my own life play out from a great distance, like I was an extra.
Should I give another shocker? Derek is not actually her brother. She's been lying all along. I've not seen the end of the story. I'm just saying the story for the first time, but I can feel it deep beside me that Derek, Mr. Derek, is not her brother. Derek is her boyfriend. This guy is a stupid lover boy. He's not thinking. He's getting me angry, but then, oof, I'm alive. I need to stay calm. I need to smile. Smile to you all. But deep down, I'm boiling.
Background of their important story. I desperately wanted to ask where she'd been, why she hadn't come immediately when I'd needed her most.
Why
But my
would
mouth
you want
felt
to
too
even,
dry,
why would
my
you
tongue
want to
too
even
heavy,
ask her in the
and my
first
heart
place?
even heavier still. Nurse Camille entered quietly, her presence immediately feeling like a protective shield against the coldness emanating from my visitors. She carried a clipboard with an official-looking form attached and a pen clipped neatly to the top.